Hey guys, Fishy here. We are going live with our live stream check of Newsguard. Newsguard is supposed to be a news evaluation, a site evaluation tool that you can use to navigate the internet more intelligently, I would guess. It says here they're using journalism to fight false news, misinformation, and disinformation. Trained analysts who are experienced journalists research online news brands, help readers and viewers know which ones are trying to do legitimate journalism and which are not. There is a great big bunch of bias available to that in terms of how that is managed, what that looks like. And it's possible that it might be biased, but what I wanted to do is test drive it, kick the tires, show you a little bit about what this thing is doing, what it looks like, and you can determine if you want to download it yourself, install the plugin to your browser, and see whether maybe there's some value in it for you. Before we do, one of the things I want to say though about this is that almost every tool I have read about that somebody wants to look at and try to install and try to make people comfortable with, to evaluate news, to help them get better at spotting fakery, things like that. Almost all of them are designed maybe for the person who's already decided, hey, I need to get better at this. Somebody who's recognized it in the past, they might have shared fake stuff and they want to stop. But it does not help reach, I don't think, some of the people for whom these issues do not even come into their minds. There are people that are reflexive, people who shout fake news at content that they disagree with. And that is just the way that things have been, I don't know, programmed in the last few years for people to behave and to react that way. This does not touch them. You could install this on grandma's computer and show her what it is, and it might help if you don't have that discussion. But typically the people who are going to be interested in and find this product, to me, I'm believing that those are the people who have less of a problem with this, who understand and recognize that there's a difficulty. And so instead of doing this on the Unfakery page where I'm only going to reach a certain number of people, I'm doing this live stream from my regular page, but I will put it up for Unfakery on the YouTube channel. So if you see it and you think there's value in this, you can upload it to, I'll upload it and you can pass it on to someone later on that might get some use out of it. So let's take a look. When you go here to newsguardtech.com, you will go here, get the extension. It'll give you the opportunity to download it and you'll take care of that. And this is what happens. And I just, before we do any of that, here they have where they explain how they rate and their sample nutrition labels, which is sort of the long form content we'll get into. It tells you how it works, talks about brand safety, libraries, press that they've had. You could read articles about it, but also, why should you trust us? That is a very interesting question. You should, at minimum, go to newsguardtech.com and read, why should you trust us? And you can make your determinations about whether you feel confident in the people that they've had that are doing this by looking at that. But you'll get the extension here at the top of the page. It's pretty easy to get it done. Even I could figure that out. And then give feedback here. If you decide that you need to tell them something, that they need to improve what they're doing, then you can use that place, give feedback there, to give them some ideas, some criticisms, whatever it is that comes to mind that you need to tell them. And I do like that about this feature. This just launched yesterday, August 23rd, and that is, of course, ripe for maybe some people not necessarily having all the bugs worked out yet. So we're just going to check that. There's one thing I had here. It was an article from Wired that I saw that I would also recommend, where they kind of explain what they're doing. Newsguard wants to fight fake news with humans, not algorithms. And if you've been following any of my stuff at unfakery, you'll understand that I'm skeptical of how algorithms are going to be programming us. Honestly, one of the worries that I have is that people are being programmed by what works algorithmically to then reproduce that. That's a problem, and I think it needs discussing. And so this particular feature that uses people are fallible, of course, but not in the tremendously, spectacularly inhuman ways that algorithms can be faulty. If an algorithm fails, you point to the machine and you say, who knew? If a person fails, you can hold them accountable. So that's just something to think about when we're looking at these things. So this is an article, like I said, that I do recommend you read if you are interested in this plugin. But what I want to do is check out a couple of sites. First of all, we're going to check out the New York Times. And I don't even know what the address is on that. Of course, it helps if I can spell properly. But New York Times, here we go. New York Times, there's an article here from, last month. Facebook identifies an active political influence campaign using fake accounts. All right. What you see when you go to a news site here is this little icon up in the top right. It is Newsguard's plugin little indicator. If I hover over it, it should pop up. Oh, no, I got to click it. When I click it, it should pop up something. What is going on? Why is my laptop taking so long? All right. It tells you the address that you're looking at. This website generally maintains basic standards of accuracy and accountability. Green means generally maintains. This is a very wide and broad category, as we might get to see. But it tells you about it. And then you can go here to read more. When you click read more, this tells you the detail. Who owns this particular site? How long has it been around? What is its history? When we go down content, what kind of content does it produce? How credible is it judged to be? And again, you have to decide for yourself whether you think that is a measure that they would be honest about. Transparency also. What does transparency mean to this organization and to this particular post or this particular site? History of the site. Look, they have done a lot of stuff in here, and then they've sourced it down at the bottom wherever they talk about a bunch of things in the usage of that site or the common practices of that site. They go in and they source all that. Then they have this little checkup label here. This website generally maintains basic standards of accuracy and accountability. These criteria are listed in order of importance to them. So they start off with, do they repeatedly publish false content? Yes or no? Do they gather and present information responsibly? And again, you can argue with any of these. I'm just presenting to you what their criteria are. Regularly correct or clarify any errors. We could, again, talk about how that's done. But the fact that they are known for it or something is a check for them. Handles the difference between news and opinion responsibly. Avoids deceptive headlines. Again, you can debate all of this. Website discloses ownership and financing. That is a little bit less subjective. That's a much more objective thing. You can find out whether they disclose that. Clearly labels advertising. That's a yes or no here as well. Reveals who's in charge, including any possible conflicts of interest, and then provides information about content creators. So do they have bios, etc.? This is the measure by which every site is going to be looked at. So we'll go from here. Now that we've looked at what one of these would look like, we'll go to Daily Wire. We'll look at Daily Wire and see what the rating looks like on Daily Wire. Also, by the way, when you do this and you have sites pop up in your Google searches, because it's a Chrome plugin here, and there's also another browser that has it, but you can read about that at their own site. I think it's Explorer, Edge, maybe. I don't know. Who uses Edge? I don't even know. But you go here, and they have the same checks here and the same pop-ups when you hover over, the same opportunity to see those. So when you look down here, it's got a Daily Wire article with the checks next to it. You can scroll through here. If you get to a YouTube, you get this yellow. Look what the yellow says. This website publishes content from its users that it does not vet. Information from this source may not be reliable. That's a good thing to have labeling YouTube in general, I think, given what I've seen on the platform. But they've also done that with Wikipedia, which I think is also similarly responsible since the editing goes on. But yeah, just wanted to show you, as you do these searches on Google, if you've got it in your Chrome browser, these will pop up there as well. So we'll go to Daily Wire and see what it says here. So over here, we'll click on our icon again, and it's got the green we noticed. We'll go to read more and see what they think. Here we have regularly corrects or clarifies errors. Daily Wire has got an X on that one. So they don't tell you in this section where that happened, but that's probably in the paragraphs over here to the left, and we'll check that in a second. Handles the difference between news and opinion responsibly. Got an X for that too. Website discloses ownership and financing. Got an X for that too. So let's see credibility down here. Includes opinion pieces in the news category. And news stories generally contain the writer's opinions. So that's the worst they've got. That'd be interesting. Let's see. Although Daily Wire generally presents Trump in a positive light, Shapiro has been notably critical of the president. So that's, I guess, gets them rated a little higher. But you can read why they think transparency is lacking, or disclosures are lacking, etc. So that is interesting from that Daily Wire site. They still get a green. They're just getting a green from not necessarily fulfilling all the obligations of transparency, etc. So we're going to go to National Review now. Let's see what they have to say about National Review. Oh, green check. National Review's got a green check. You have to decide for yourself, if you're on the site itself, if you're on National Review here, you are not going to get any clues as to this rating from Newsguard. You have to go and click on your plugin. And when you do, it pops up that extra tab again, and we can see regularly corrects or clarifies errors. Somebody at National Review is apparently not correcting errors or clarifying things. Well, that's, again, you would have to check and see about that corrections. National Review does not disclose a corrections policy and does not tell its readers how to submit corrections. If that's all they're dinging them for, then fine. It says they didn't respond to emails and phone calls. And maybe that's standard for them. I don't know. But at any rate, this is still looking like a pretty good score for them. Let's see what else we have. We are going to go to Salon. This is going to be entertaining. Salon.com. What do they have as a rating? Look at this. It's green. Salon.com. Let's see what their score says. Handles the difference between news and opinions responsibly. Ooh, they got dinged for that too. But just about everything else, they've got green on here. That's fascinating. And again, it goes into credibility and lots on credibility, and then transparency and history as well. So you can click through these. Once you've been to Newsguard and installed the plugin, you could just go to any site and check that. If they've reviewed it, if they have looked at it, it will be up here, and you can just click on it and read more about it. So let's see what else we have here. Let's go to Breitbart. Breitbart News Network. Let's click on it, and look what we have here. We have a red badge with an exclamation point. This ought to be juicy. Proceed with caution. This website generally fails to maintain basic standards of accuracy and accountability. All right, so let's see what they don't get right. They don't gather and present information responsibly, according to this group. They don't handle the difference between news and opinion responsibly. And they don't disclose ownership and financing. I imagine that's a mess. And doesn't reveal who's in charge, including any possible conflicts of interest. I am not a fan of Breitbart. I'm just going to say it straight up. As it is currently constituted, and as it has been constituted for about the last 5 years. But having said that, I get these X's here. I understand them. I don't know how many you have to get a red badge here. But yeah, I imagine that this should go on for ages and ages and ages about credibility and whatnot. So yeah, that's a lot of data to read. But apparently, yeah, Breitbart doesn't fit the bill. And I mean, I personally don't use Breitbart. I won't link to Breitbart if I don't have to. I will find any other source or find their original sources just out of principle for that. Let's see what else we have. Let's do Larry O'Connor's station, WMAL. They have a site. Let's see what they got. They are the talk news station in DC. Let's see. Do they have a rating? I don't see a rating from them. Let's see if Newsguard... submit the site for review by Newsguard. I am going to submit it. All right, so maybe they will check WMAL. Now, in the meantime, WBAL has been reviewed, I'm pretty sure. That must be Baltimore. Let's find out. All right, let's see. Baltimore News. And we'll click that. It looks like they haven't been reviewed yet. Oh, Dan Joseph is on streaming. Nice. All right. Yep, this website is still in the process of being rated. All right, so they are working their way through these, apparently. How about CNN.com? I can hear everyone that's watching laughing, but watch. This is going to get a green check. I'm not kidding you. And this is where people are going to have issues with the value of a rating system like this. If you're in an ideological camp, this does not seem to help. CNN has every check, everything checked green on the review here. And probably that is handles the difference between news and opinion responsibly. Might be where people would have an issue. And also the regularly corrects or clarifies errors. I've seen CNN do that. The question is, do they do that on the same level as they initially put the incorrect information? I think people could have that discussion about how that is done. But yes, CNN gets a big old green check mark. Let's look at Daily Cause. See what this one gets. This ought to be fun. Big old red exclamation points. Proceed with caution. Let's read more about this one. All right. So, gathers and presents information responsibly? Nope. Handles the difference between news and opinion responsibly? Nope. Avoids deceptive headlines? Nope. And provides information about content creators? Nope. All right. So, that's pretty interesting. What interests me about the transparency is, I'd like to know who's behind a particular news organization, if it's got a partisan slant to it. I'd like to know who's behind purportedly unbiased news as well, but those are a little harder to dig out from people. But yeah, 4 dings for Daily Cost there. They are not considered a reliable news source. All right, we're going to go to Babylon Bee, because of course they're doing some fakery, right? Babylon Bee. What you get from Babylon Bee, this is so adorable. you get, this is a satire or humor website. It is not an actual news source. Isn't that refreshing? I'm so glad to see that. Let's see. So none of these are applicable. So you'll just get this smiley face badge and the not applicables on the satirical sites. So that's fascinating to know. I'm looking, if there's anybody who's got a suggestion for a site to look up while we're doing this, put it in the chat, write it down in the comments, and we will look. I was trying to think of a wide enough variety of them to check them out. But we should be able to do some live. Let's look at time.com while we're here. See what Time has got. Time has got a green check. You know it did. Let's see if there's any dings against them, though. Do they have any X's on these factors? Let's see. No, Time has got all of them checked green. So I think that kind of comes into your confirmation bias. You expect to see poor reporting out of some of these organizations, or iffy sourcing, or getting things wrong, or spinning them a particular way. And then you see all these green checks and it makes you doubt the whole process. And I get that. And I think that's why that, again, this is not going to be helpful for certain segments of the population that do not trust any mainstream sites for news at all. So that's a thing to be concerned about, just so that it's clear. If we lose trust in mainstream media, what is going to replace that? Who is going to be telling us what's going on, and doing that with those standards that we'd like to see? Objectivity and thoroughness, getting multiple sources to verify things, making sure that what they're reporting is relevant. These are all things that are important considerations for journalism. Is it timely? Is it correct? Has it been vetted? An editorial check through, before going on out and being published? I don't know if all those sites have that, but I think it's a bad thing to trash the media as a whole when there are people who are still trying to get those things right. And I think we have to be careful. We have to be careful of those generalizations in this sort of thing. We all laugh at the mistakes CNN has made, but it's not just easy to dismiss the work that they do as a whole simply because a few people have got some things wrong. I worry about that. I worry about where we are going to have discussions about policy in the future if nobody can agree on what basic facts there are. All right, let's look at a couple of other sites. Let's see. I think we should look at CBS. CBS News would be a good one. They're going to have a green check. You know they are. CBS News, breaking news. And it's a green check. Let's see what kind of lists they have on theirs. How well did they do? You're going to get everything green? Yep, everything green. You knew they would. What about BBC? Does BBC have any dings against them? Nope, it's a green check there. Let's find out what they say. Oh, all of them checked. All of them checked. So legacy media looks like it's covered. We'll see. Let's look at NPR. National Public Radio. National Public Radio is going to have a green check. You know it is. All right. And when we read more, we get all of them checked again. All of them checked. And this is what you hope to get from news organizations. The question is just whether do you trust the folks here at Newsguard to have evaluated fairly and properly? Are there any rights-leaning sites maybe? Oh, I know, Neon Nettle. That's read it. Oh, look at this. You can't even get to Neon Nettle through Google there. It's so bad that Google won't populate it. You have to go to Neon Nettle directly. It's going to try to keep me from doing it. Let's go that way. All right, Neon Nettle. It's going to have... Are you kidding me? This website's still in the process of being rated? Are you kidding me? This is the fakiest of fake sites. You've got to be kidding me. One of the other things that I noticed, by the way, is that some of the fakery sites that I used to know, they seem to be gone. Some of the ones that especially center around Christopher Blair, who does a lot of satire fakery, his sites are down. I think he is exclusive to Facebook right now anymore, which is fascinating, but okay. We'll try one. Last Line of Defense is one of his, but that's okay. YouTube. Nope, this is all like home defense. Huh. Yep, no, I cannot find, and without knowing the actual address, I can't find that actual fakery site. That's fascinating, very interesting. All right, when we look around, let me think. One of the other ones, Your Newswire. Let's try Your Newswire. That one is, oh yes, we have a red exclamation point, and I expected that. But let's see how bad it is. These guys are fake as could be. Discloses ownership and financing, they get that right. Clearly labels advertising, they get that right. Reveals who is in charge, they get that right. Provides information about content creators. Everything else, all the important stuff at the top, they get wrong. That is something else. Okay. I think I know a site I want to see. It was one of the really bad clickbaiters, and I can't off the top of my head remember what those guys were. It was the ones that tried to get my YouTube channel shut down and got one of my videos removed temporarily. America's Freedom Fighters. Yeah, that's the one. Those guys need to get a case of head lice. All right. That's Facebook. AFF, Real News from Real Patriots, America's Freedom Fighters. See, I really wanted them to have a score. I wanted them to have a score. It is still in the process of being rated. Oh, heavens, JD, if we look at Reddit, oh my stars, it's going to be orange, I'm sure. Reddit, the front page of the internet. Yep. This website publishes content from its users that it does not vet. Information from this source may not be reliable. So yeah, I expected that. It doesn't score Facebook or anything like that. But here's something else you should see. When I go to, after I've looked at the sites and everything, I can show you what it looks like in my feed on Facebook. So here we have just what would normally be in my feed. Proud Pie doesn't get rated, sadly. Let's see. National Review. When you scroll through, there's your check. It will give you a check that if you hover over, it will help you to see that one has a rating. Let's see what else, what other sites are down here. And that counts weather. Oh, by the way, that was the feed. That's our live stream we were just doing. It gives you, if there are links in a particular post or a comment, it'll give you the rating next to that link. So here, Carlfred has put a YouTube link, and it's shown the rating for YouTube's site. That has nothing to say about the video's content. It's just saying that that site as a whole has user-generated content, which can be iffy. They don't vet it. That's what they're saying there. And how is it that nobody is posting any links at this particular time in my feed? ABC7 Chicago, they've looked at. that is the site rating for them. They've got a green check. Let's see, who else do we have? The idea here is that as you're scrolling through Facebook, you're not having to stop and go to the site to evaluate it. Facebook works with Newsguard to let them put that, to let them put that particular, oh God, what am I trying to say? The icon, thank you, gosh, the icon, to put it in there for you, so that you're scrolling through and you could see it. Now, of course, like I said, everyone in my feed is not posting anything with links. They're all sharing from pages, so that's making it difficult. Let's see. Oh, New York Daily News gets a green check. There we go. Let's see what else we have. Maybe we'll get a couple of other links as we scroll through. Well, ABC 7 Houston again. The Hill gets a green check. That's lovely too. Who else? Trash Panda. That's cute, Shannon. Let's see. All right, so this isn't being very, very helpful, but we are going to look at one more place. I'm going to look at some pages, or groups, I mean, to see if we can find any links in these groups and see whether people are sharing fakery and being warned off using the Newsguard little shield evaluation next to the links. My suspicion is that we won't see many red links in here because some of the sites that are going around in these pages and groups are not necessarily ones that Newsguard has gotten to yet. They might be fly-by-nights and they might never get evaluated. That's another weakness in here. They've gone for sites that they say present 90% of the traffic. ColumbusPost.site is a site that is being spammed into these groups by people from overseas. And I'll show you, just as a side note here, Monu Kumar lives in India and is sharing this content into this group from ColumbusPost.site. I don't know about this story, but I've seen it going around on several of their sites that are close to that. And it's not going to rate ColumbusPost.site because it's relatively new. And it'll close down next week if they get a bad rating or something like that. They could close down next week and start over again with another place called Phoenix Post or something like that. So this helps to some degree, but these are the places where people are really engaging in fakery. And this plugin is not helping. 80 comments, 16 shares, 190 reactions, and there's no rating anywhere near this, and it won't be, because again, those have been shut down rather than let them go on if they're not producing. These guys can spin up those sites and then dump them as quickly as possible, and they do. I've got a spreadsheet. In fact, we'll just go to my Google Drive and we'll open it up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Foreign pages, foreign run pages, I want to say. I don't remember what the actual sheet is, but it'll take a second to load. Oh, I'm about to have to close it down here. Foreign run pages, yeah. I've got an election to work in the morning. I've got to be down there at 6:15 to open up the polls. But foreign run pages, when I look through here, I have checked all these posts and these profiles, and I've noticed a couple things lately that have been going on. The .site sites that I was just showing you, the Phoenix Post .site and the Charlotte Post .site, that sort of thing, all those are in blue here like this. And this particular bunch has American sounding names sharing it, but the profiles are from Pakistan. Columbus Post tried something a little different. They have names from India and Pakistan, and they're India and Pakistan labeled, and they're not hiding behind fakes. Those are just real accounts from those areas. And those go, and when they don't produce anymore, they become too easily knocked out, or Facebook blocks them, they shut them down. Look how many pages, how many sites Facebook has shut down that, or these guys have shut down because Facebook won't post them anymore. Facebook has actually blocked several sites, like Daily News Lifestyle. I think they block it, and you can't even use that. You can't even share a link like that. So fascinating. So this is kind of what you get when you search around through these things. You'll find in the groups, if they're a popular enough site, and this is what makes sense, if they've got enough traffic on them to matter, then sometimes they might actually have a link that's been reviewed, that you can check the badge for. Here is a YouTube, again, as I said, that turns out orange because it's user-generated content that is unmoderated, unvetted, unverified. So while, again, I think this might be useful to a person in general, just to see what other journalists think about this stuff as it comes through. There are plenty in these fakery regions that are not touched, that are not getting looked at all. They could probably take my spreadsheet and just go through there and look at it, but again, those sites will come down as soon as they do. It's not going to be too helpful. The good thing about it is that fakers don't necessarily know unless they get the plugin that they have been rated. So that might be something to think about there. But again, it doesn't add too much. It's not a distracting feature at all. It's just that, ooh, Daily Mail gets a big red exclamation point. That is fascinating. I would expect nothing less. We have to check that out. Sorry, we have to check that out. It does look a little jarring when you see the red there. The green, not so much. Oh, so they get discloses ownership and financing and advertising right, and everything else wrong. Wow. Wow. That's fascinating. So, yeah, that does, when you're looking at that, it's right near where you would be sharing it and everything like that. So maybe that might move a couple people to pause every once in a while. I don't know. But there it is. That's what it looks like when you are scrolling through groups and pages and through your feed, and you're looking to see if something is, I guess, Newsguard worthy, if it has been reviewed positively by Newsguard. So I don't know how helpful it's going to be. And the people who I think would use it would be the people who don't necessarily need it so much, I guess. I don't know. I applaud the idea, and I think it's good that there is somebody saying, hey, we have some standards of, standards of basic journalism that we would like people to adhere to, that we were all taught in journalism school to adhere to. And that's a thing. Do you repeatedly publish false content? Well, you shouldn't. And if you do, I do hope you're dinged for it. Do you gather and present information responsibly? I hope so. I hope you show your work. I hope you tell the whole story. I hope you choose all of the information available to you as you package a story. You don't just lean to one side and give just one side of the story. These are all things that we should expect of all journalists, and when they fall down on them, especially if they've got a rating like this, you can use this as an ability to say, hey, we need to hold these people accountable. They say they regularly correct or clarify errors, and they've got this blatant bit of falsehood out there or bad spin, and they haven't fixed it yet. You can use this as a measure to push them toward more accountability, and I like that about it. I do. But again, it's a very small number of people that are going to be involved in using this and watching it, in interacting with it and engaging with them. on making it better. But I did want to show you. I wanted to show you what it looked like and showed you, sort of test drive the feature so you could see it a little bit. And then, maybe see if we could discover anything new. We found some interesting ratings. Ought to be many more, hopefully, to come. But I'm going to leave it up. I'm going to keep it and see what happens. And maybe I can help them, I don't know, with some feedback if I've got that. But I really just want people to do this kind of thing, to pay more attention to the options that are out there and to think about what do we need to do for the people in our lives that do fall for fakery. When we do have problems of, and we'll put cute babies on to close with, people who do have problems falling for fakery, most of the people who know me, who are in my feeds, who follow in fakery, they don't have this problem. This is not an issue that they deal with or struggle with, but we all know people who do, and those are the people we need to reach. And the only thing I know to do is do things like this: introduce tools, review them, show people what's available, maybe ask for opinions, and have people tossed questions too that maybe they can think about. How do we get better at this? How do we take people who ridiculously and regularly share fakery and help them get better at this? And it's only the people in their lives that they trust that they'll eventually listen to. Nobody on the left is going to shame them out of it. Nobody on the right is going to shame them out of it. It's people in their lives that are going to help and educate them. And that's what I'm hoping to do, is give tools like that. So thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Thanks for being a part of the Unfakery family, as it were. When I get this up on YouTube, I'll be able to make it there so you could share it. You could also share it from my page and tell people about Unfakery. We will talk to you soon. I should be up again next Tuesday for the next live troll hunt. Thanks again, everybody. Talk to you soon.